up, guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. I just got over here to Randy's shop. We're going to be working on putting his engine back together today. We'll see how far we can get. We got a Honda cylinders, then we're going to get the crankshaft in it. Go ahead and get the new rods on the pistons. We got 2 new pistons that are spares. So we're going to take a look at the pistons, and the ones that are in worse shape, we're going to replace 2 of those. There's a few of them that have a little excessive side skirt wear, but overall they're not terrible. So check this out, guys. Comment, like, and subscribe if you want to support the channel. Head on over to turbojohnracing.com. Grab yourself some hats and t-shirts and buy that turbo keychain to get entered to win the front wheel off the wrecked car that is signed by all of us. Pretty cool. Thanks, guys. All right, so Randy has got the crankshaft out of it. The bearings actually look pretty good in this thing. They're not too bad at all. See this aluminum block, no catwalk. That one fretted a little bit, but it's not bad. It's not rough at all. But everything looks superb. Camshaft still turns good, so we're not even going to pull the camshaft out. It's got roller bearings. We got a berry hone from Mike Bavaro, so he's going to let us borrow that. So we're going to go ahead and berry hone these cylinders, and basically just hit it with WD-40 or brake clean. I'll probably use brake clean, and used to use WD-40, and Brian, you know, he always used brake clean, and it actually works a little bit better because it doesn't lubricate it. So we want it to rough it up. Basically, we're just going to rough up the surfaces, knock the glaze off. And what will happen is the rings will seat better. And we're going to go ahead and try to file fit the rings tonight too. So luckily Brandon was able to meet us yesterday. He went to TKM. He doesn't stay too far away. So he got the parts and pieces. I appreciate him meeting me out last night. That way we didn't have to ship it and all that good stuff. This is the berry hone. This one is a flexi hone. It's from Snap-on. But basically it's a 4 1/4, 4 1/8, 4.125 bore. And that's what Randy's is. And it's just got little stones on it. And I don't know what grit this actually is. I don't guess it really says. But basically what it does is it just knocks the glaze off. And it's a nice, snug, tight fit. So I got the cylinders here. You can see they're a little shiny from the glaze. We'll lubricate this up with some brake clean. And this will just go in there. We'll attach this to the drill. And we'll spin it. And we'll go up and down. And I usually just count how many strokes I'm doing. I usually try to do about 10 strokes or so up and down with a dingleberry hone, and basically it just roughs it up, knocks the actual glaze off. Of course, this is not going to do anything for taking out material. I mean, it'll be very, very, very minimal. So it's very easy to do. So let's do that real fast. I'm gonna go ahead and hone this. All right, guys, so that's the berry hone. You go 10 or 12 times, same constant speed, and it does a pretty good job. See, it's not nearly as shiny. On the video, it still is picking up a pretty good shine, but trust me, it's not near as shiny. There's a couple spots in there. These are low enough to where, you know, you're fine. In a perfect world where you were going to freshen a motor every year, then you would just hone it out and get all new pistons every time. But that's not absolutely necessary. These are not going to hurt anything. What you're seeing, you can feel it just a tad, but not much at all. See, that one's got a few marks up and down in it, but the camera makes it look a ton worse than what it is. So trust me when I tell you it's not that bad. But at some point, you know, you either have to punch the bore out. This is still a 4.125 motor right now. So not that big a deal. Okay, so next we're gonna go ahead and start gapping rings. And first I need to figure out what we wanna gap these at. I'm gonna take these rings that were on these pistons and we'll use filler gauges and we will mic them to make sure we're good. All right, guys, so what I did here, so we're working on the rings now. This is the top ring and this is in the spare piston. You always put a ring in a piston, and then that's what you use to kind of square up down in there, right? So you don't push it too far down in there. And that's what stops it. And then you just take your handy dandy filler gauges, which these are a little rusty. So I'm having to use those and these over here, and we're able to see what we've got. So the top ring on this one is about 35 thousandths. The second ring is about 37 thousandths. We always run the second ring just a little bit more than the top ring. And the reason for that is so that if anything gets by the first ring, which you're going to have some leakage, it goes by the second ring and it doesn't get trapped. Now, there are some people that say do that opposite. They want you to tighten the second ring up versus the top one. So basically the second ring would be 30 or 32 and the top ring would be 35. Hey guys, so we are now professionals. I don't know if you noticed, we have a professional ring grinder that we are assembling. We ain't never done this before. So the way I normally get my rings is, it's kind of the same thing. So this is just a miniature side grinder. I use a 4.5 inch side grinder usually, and I just hold them real steady and gently go up. Now this one is nice, so we wanted to try this. I mean, it was just from Summit there. Very easy to put together so far. It's mostly assembled. We just had to put this on, and then now we're putting the dial indicator on. And in theory here, when you put the ring on there, it should be able to, we should be able to see how much we're going to take off of it. You still got to be careful though. All right, guys, so we got this thing set up. Got total seal rings. There's all the instructions. It's got all the, this is really nice. The last set of rings I got, they were, I don't remember what name brand they were, but they were not in individual packages. So this makes it a little bit easier. It really does when they have it completely labeled what is what. And you can figure it out by looking at them. But you can see this is the top ring. The top ring is thicker, and the second ring is actually smaller on these. So this is actually pretty doggone cool. These is Randy's is 1/16 on the top ring, and then the second ring is the smaller one. Now the motor I just got from Jerry is opposite of that. So it's 1/16 on the second ring and 43 on the top ring. So that is interesting. Okay, so we got this grinder here. Got all the instructions, all your instructions. This is their chart that they recommend for take the bore, and then you multiply it times those numbers. Now what they're recommending, high boost and nitro alkyl bore times 0.009, and they're saying the top ring and the second ring, set them the exact same and not do it like I normally do with the second ring a little bit wider. So we might do that. We'll try that. We'll set them the exact same. Each individual engine builder will modify this a little bit and, you know, do their own thing. If you do the basic math here, high boost and alcohol, bore 4.125 by 0.008, it comes out to 33, almost 34 thousandths. And if you do the high boost under nitro, it's the 4.125 times the 0.009, then that gives you 37. So when I measured these a minute ago, I got 35. So I think we're going to stick with 35. That seems to work. We're going to change Randy's name to Pro Mod Nitro Randy, since we're going to use kind of this ring gap specs, kind of in between. All right, guys, so we're fixing to grind our first ring. The second ring actually was dead on perfect, 35 thousandths. And the gap is way tighter than that. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to mic all this thing up in the ring finder here, and then use this dial indicator, and then you just grind it. And then, of course, this is only going to be to get it close. You got to take baby steps, because if you go too big, then, you know, it could be a problem. Although going 1 or 2 thousandths too big, probably not that big a deal. There'll be some people that disagree with that. That cylinder may have a little bit more blow by, but I doubt if you notice it at all. If you're trying to get 35 and you get 36 or 37. But if you do get too tight, that could potentially be an issue and could hurt a piston if those rings butt together. So let's grind this one. All right, guys, so the second ring was dead on. So I didn't have to do anything to that. The top ring, though, was a little off. So I got this thing set up. So this thing has got a little bit to be desired. Is this back side of the ring, this is not going to be a good long-term solution with this wire coming out right here where the ring is. I mean, that's where the ring is. So, I mean, it's going to eventually tear that wiring up. So I don't know that I'm particularly thrilled with this. We're going to figure it out, though, and see if we can end up liking it or not liking it. And we're going back to the side grinder. All right, guys, so we got half of the motor done. Randy's taking the old rings off of those pistons And so half motor is done. I haven't been really doing anything. The second ring, the Napier ring, and that thing's basically just an oil scraper. But the top ring, you see, it's got very, very, very little gap. So the bore, it's at 4.125 plus 5. So I would assume that would mean it would be 4.30. So you have to, you know, of course, grind some off. So it's pretty easy. What I've been doing, you still have to hand finish. I've been hand finishing with this. It's just got the little scuffer on it. That works like a champ. So this thing is actually pretty easy to set up. Let me show you real fast. Okay, so this is pretty easy to set up. Not real happy with some of the features on it, but I mean, maybe that's all ring grinders in general. But basically, you get this thing on here, and I've been pushing it back just a little bit. And then you get this lined up. This is the hold down. And so basically, it just goes in there, holds down. Make sure the ring is set square, because if it's not square, then you'll have issues, of course. And that's adjusted by this little oblong thing here. You loosen this up, and then you move that to wherever you want to. So that is square on this. And so then you set this to 0. And I need to take off about 20 thousandths is where I need to be. And the number is not exactly accurate, but let me show you how I'm doing it right now. So I don't know if you noticed, for some reason, when I cranked it up, when I first hit the power, it was on 0, but then it jumped over to 5, and then so now it's on -5 or 95. So we moved about 10 thousandths or so, and so then we go test fit this in the bore and see what it actually is. All right, guys, so that one is now finished by hand. It's hard to tell, but it's mostly square and cleaned up. The bevel is on the right side. So that one is about 35 thousandths. So now we got 3 more to do, and then we will start hanging these on the piston. All right, guys, piston rings are now gapped. So my first experience with the Summit ring grinder here, ring filer, it works. You still have to hand finish. And when I say hand finish, I do it with the, you know, you can't do it with a file, or you can do it very gently with one of these. You just have to be very careful, because, you know, the faster you spin this, more material it takes off. It's just something that comes with experience. The way we used to file rings back in the old day is we would take a hard file and put it in a vise and physically back and forth. And then I started doing it with a side grinder, and that worked pretty good. And we wanted to try this, and it actually works pretty good, but you just have to get it close with this, because if you try to go, I mean, within that 5 or 10 thousandths, it's just, I know in theory this should be good, but yeah, it'll get you close, but it's not 100% accurate from what I can tell. So Randy's in there now. He's almost got all the rings off of the pistons. So we're going to look and find out which one of these pistons, which 2 we're going to replace. And the other thing with these, y'all, I don't know if y'all have ever seen, we pointed out before, these are buttons. So this is what holds the pin in. And the ring, the oil control ring is actually, oh look, that says patent pending on there. So they got different ones, but the buttons are amazing. It makes changing pistons and rods a lot faster. Guys, well, we have selected the 2 that are the worst. So that one is definitely the worst. What number is that one, Randy? It's on the rod down here. It's number 6. So number 6 was definitely the worst here. The side load on that one was terrible for some reason. So maybe, what number is that one? Number 2 and number 6 are the worst. They're flat tops, but even the exhaust valve and intake valve are always on the same side. But we have to look at it to see that the ring, or not the ring, you have to look at it to make sure the rods are on the bevel part. So you see how this bearing is flat on this side of the rod, and on this other side it's beveled. So the flat side, this is another rod connects on this one. This side over here is radius like this because that's where the crankshaft is. So if you put these backwards, this flat part will bind on the crankshaft, and as soon as you torque it down, it ain't going nowhere. It's going to lock it down. So we're going to just change these. We're going to go ahead and get new rods. He's got those. So since we got to change those pistons and rods, we're going to scribe the numbers on these again. It's not the best thing. Some people, they have a stamp kit or a nice engraver. You got an engraver, Randy? Yeah. Yeah. Screwdriver. Little screwdriver is going to be the engraver. GRP apparently is now making titanium rods. That is interesting. So GRP, good rods. So this is where we're at. Torque with oil, 75 foot-pounds is where we're going to go here. So easy enough. Oh, look, they got TKM stuck on them. So it's got the AO37, AO371. Perfect. So easy enough. Let's go ahead and start changing these. All right, guys, well, we got the rods done. The rods are on the pistons. And like I was saying, these things are super easy with these buttons. It makes it super, super easy. So, Randy, I like the way you scribed them.
Yeah, you did a great job.
I was like, Randy, go ahead and scribe them. He's like, He's like, I don't think I can. And it looks like a child scribed them, but I put piston marks on pistons too, which you don't have to do both, but it makes it easier. So you can see the way I did it. Every single one, when I sat it down, the beveled edge was to the left. And so these should be all good. So these are rods I think Happy's going to get. They don't have any passes on them. So we're going to take now and I'm going to go ahead and start putting the rings on it. And the rings are down in the bore here. So what we'll do is real simple, real easy. We're going to try to have a short block done tonight. All right, guys, so we're almost done. We got 7 of the pistons done. I just wanted to show you real fast. It's really hard to see, but this is the Napier second ring. Let's see if you can kind of see it. It's got basically, it's like a wiper, and this is just, can't really see it. But, oh, there you go. It essentially is a second oil control ring. Very, very light duty, and it scrapes oil. It just helps get oil off of the top ring. All right, guys, so moving on along, the block is mostly clean. Got new bearings. So these are the upper bearings. The motor is turned upside down. So if the motor was right side up, they would be uppers. The key thing is, these are grooved and they have holes in them. That has to go in the block side. So that is the thrust bearing on this side, the thrust bearing that we just took out. All these bearings look pretty good. They look bad because of the coating. That one had a little bit of wear on it, but not much. But most of them still have the coating on them, and they're going to wear, of course. And that one wore a little funny, but you know, crankshaft looks good, everything looks fine. So we're sliding it back together. So the lower bearings, these are the ones that go into caps. Notice they're solid. They're again thrust bearing on this side, and then you're set. Now what we use, there's a couple different things you can use, but we're going to use Lucas. That is a perfect assembly lube. There's a lot of other stuff up there, but I've always used Lucas, so I like it. So we're going to lube these up real good, get a nice coat in it. Then we got to put, this one has the roller thrust bearing as well. There's the crankshaft down there. Randy got it all polished back up. This is the roller thrust bearing. Basically, you got a shim on each side, and then it just squeezes in there. So let's stick the crank in it real fast. Shouldn't take a second. All right, guys, so the bottom end is getting closer. Crankshaft is installed. I guess I should have showed you that before we put it in there. But this thing rolls over like butter. We had to look back at the actual instructions or text messages from Kevin and Sammy. Mains on this one are torqued to 100 foot-pounds on the big bolts, and the little bolts are 65 foot-pounds. So we got those torqued up, checked. The Lucas is a little thicker, so you feel a little bit of drag, but this thing, it turns really, really smooth, really good. So now what we're going to do is we'll turn this thing up 45-degree angle, and we'll go on number 1 bank. So small block forward is number 1 on the passenger side. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll just bang these pistons in real fast. All right, guys. So the bearings, same thing. Got the H bearings in the rod itself. These are the ones that are solid, and in an aluminum rod, see they got dowels in them, and so these dowels hold the bearing in place. Now in a steel rod, they don't have dowel pins, only in aluminum. So I guess it's the way they stretch or something. Randy's already cleaned all these, so we got numbers 1 through 4, and you can see you can't really screw this up. This is a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier. The bearing is offset in that cap and in the rod, so if you put it together wrong, it will 100% lock down on the crankshaft. So easy to do. Okay, so he's got everything cleaned up. So he's got the ARP installer here. This is tapered. We're going to spray everything down with WD-40. That makes everything slide really good, lubricate everything. And then we'll just try to smack these down in there. See how it goes. All right, guys, well, we are moseying right on along. When you get a system in place, it goes pretty good. If you're building any motors and you don't have one of these things, boy, it saves so much time. The only chance you get once you put that thing in that ring compressor to look at your ring orientation is right here. So I don't know if you notice, that's what I'm doing. I'm orienting the rings, basically setting the gaps on the top to the second ring at a different orientation. And then it goes down, and always you can move the rod on the crank here. That is normal. So that is what you want. The other thing you can tell if a ring has gotten pinched, or if a ring has popped out like an oil ring or something, it'll be really hard to turn most of the time. But sometimes it won't be as hard. But the key thing is you'll have no piston movement. That piston rock, you notice the pistons are rocking front to back. You get a little bit side to side, but mostly this way, top to bottom. So that piston rock, that is how I check, to double check myself to make sure that I don't have a piston ring. I also use impact gum, but they're just lightly snug, wouldn't you say, Randy?
Yep.
They're not 75 foot-pounds. It literally is like like ugga-dugga, like 20% throttle, if that. Probably 10 foot-pounds of torque. That's the easiest way to do it that I have seen. Upside down, I could squat down and get it, but I like looking at the bearings. That's why you see me popping the motor up and down. This thing right here, normally we have a pair of vice grips on this. So Randy got us a crankshaft turner, which is a lot better. So we're going to stick number 5 through 8 in real quick, and then we'll pop back to you. Phone's about dead, so I'm not going to time lapse this. All right, one thing real quick, guys, too. What I do is put the crankshaft all the way down, and then that way when you're popping it in, you don't have any issues. And you can see the orientation. So number 1 is further to the front of the motor, and on this side, number 5 through 8 is all toward the back. So I just want to show you that. But making sure that crankshaft, if that crankshaft was right there, that is in the up position, it would not go all the way in, and you would probably damage the crankshaft or the rod. So you want to give yourself some room here. So you put it all the way down at the bottom on the opposite side, and it pops right in. Guys, so we're down to the last one, but I want to show you what I was talking about. On the radius edge of the crankshaft, see how it's flat up against that one, and then over there, the radius, that's how that rod goes on. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Y'all didn't think we were going to make it to a short vlog tonight, did you? You didn't think it. I know you didn't. I didn't either. Randy probably didn't either.
If they knew what time it was, they wouldn't either.
It's like 12:15. So it's going to be a long day for us tomorrow. But when you're into race car life, you have certain goals you've got to hit, right, in timelines. So we're trying to go racing with his in, what, 3 weeks? 2 weeks? 2.5 weeks now?
3 days.
Yeah, I mean, like tomorrow. So we had to get the short block done tonight. I can't come down here as often, so we needed to get it at least to this point. So we did. The only thing left is Randy's got to go through and torque down the rods tomorrow. We hit them with a little impact, but they got like 10 foot-pounds on it. But everything runs, everything spins, nothing is binding, everything seems good. I don't like leaving it at this point, but like we were saying, it is late. It won't take but 30 minutes. No, we need to go ahead. We're going to torque them down tonight before I leave. And then it won't take but a few minutes. The reason I don't like to do that because accidents happen, and Randy's going to torque them down, but things happen sometimes when you don't get to a good stopping point. So we're going to torque the rods down real quick. They ain't got to go but to 75 foot-pounds. It takes it'll take us 15 minutes at most. It's worth it. That way I know in my heart, and Randy knows in his heart, he's going to double check everything anyway. But both of us were here. Both of us torqued the mains twice, and the rods were done as well. All right, guys, comment, like, and subscribe. We'll see y'all soon. Later.